This is a Nice Guys Patreon exclusive.
Welcome to another edition of the Ice Guys Player Suite. Our off-season player interview series continues. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, some technical difficulties, but he's hoping to join us later during the show, during this interview. And very happy to have Niklas Nevalainen joining us here on this edition of the Player Suite. And as I was saying to Niklas before we started, history making. Our first Finnish-born player joining us as a special guest here on the Ice Guys. And that includes our daily show that we've done for the last couple of years. So happy to have Niklas Nevalainen joining us. Niklas, thanks for joining us on the Ice Guys Player Suite. How's the summer going for you so far?
Hey, it's been good. It's been good, and thanks a lot for having me here. It's an honor to be the first Finnish guy here. But yeah, it's the summer has been really good in Finland, so nothing to complain.
Yeah, no doubt. The one thing that I've taken great satisfaction, enjoyment from doing this show now for years, Niklas, is we've had a lot of great guests, and we've had everything you could imagine. We've had players from the NHL, the big time. We've had players from the AHL, the ECHL, players that only played college or junior hockey, players that have played in Europe at various professional levels. So it's been great to get all these different, perspectives on the game and each individual player's career and the journey they took in that career. We're a betting show. We are, like, during the season, NHL, like we're talking about, sides, totals, money lines, player props, that kind of thing. But we also make sure we talk just hockey, nuts and bolts. We just don't want to be a pick show and talk about what our bets should be and what wagers we make. We're hockey observers. We love the sport. We love talking the game, X's and O's, coaching adjustments, line combinations, that kind of thing, matchups. So we take pride in that. But as much as we love talking about the actual games and the players, we like to interview players and get their thoughts on things from seeing it through their lens, being in a dressing room situation, and also the journey that they've taken throughout their life as a hockey player. So that's where we'll begin, Niklas, with you. How did it begin? The love for hockey, where did it start?
I don't really even remember. I think I was probably 3 years old when I was first skating in the. There was actually the town.
That explains it, man. I don't remember shit when I'm 3 years old. I don't remember what the hell I was doing at
Yeah,
3
I
years
know,
old.
I
That
know.
explains it.
I know. But yeah, the town I was born and raised, there was no hockey rink out there, no team. So we have to drive like half an hour to then other town to get somewhere to play. And I think my first memories are just pushing that little beer cart on the ice to try to hang on that and just try to survive out there. But yeah, obviously that's where it started. Just and I played soccer and hockey really seriously both. But by the time I was probably 14, I had to decide which one I will actually continue and try to get profession out of it. So obviously I took my chances with hockey, and yeah, it gave me something for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'm seeing that you played a lot of, under 16, under 18 leagues in Finland in the late 2000s. But then, and how was that, first of all, just those leagues and obviously bigger ice? But then you came an opportunity to go to North America, to go to the United States, play college hockey there at St. Cloud State. The difference between playing Finland, obviously the bigger ice, going to the United States with St. Cloud State, how did going there, were you nervous, were you just happy, excited, the feelings of going to the US to play hockey after starting as a younger kid in Finland?
Yeah, like I said, I played those under 16, under 18, under 20 leagues in Finland. That's the way it goes. And after you're done with the under 20 league, you normally go to play in. You either get to play already in the top league in the men's team, or you go to the second level in Mestis and try to grow up and play there and work your way up. And yeah, my first year in the under 20 league, I had a good year, and like we kind of felt that there was nothing for that league to give me anymore. But I was pretty small guy. I was pretty lightweight and stuff like that. So jumping right to the men's game was kind of like I could have stayed, probably get a few games there and a few games in the second league, but that wasn't really what I wanted. So we were looking at to find a spot in somewhere in North America, and at the same time playing in those CHL in Canada was kind of like an option, but at the same time it felt like maybe the USA side of the hockey would be a better. So I went to the USHL in Dubuque Fighting Saints, where I was actually coached by Jim Montgomery, who is the head coach of the Boston Bruins right now. So
Wow, that's right. I remember he did coach there briefly, and I think
yeah,
plus John Cooper coached a USHL team way back in the day too.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. He
you're
was a
right.
good. Yeah,
It's amazing how many prominent coaches have actually been able to cut their teeth on coaching in the United States Hockey League, which is a level of the junior hockey ranks in the states. Yep.
yeah, and with Montgomery, you could see right away that that guy is gonna be he's gonna go way higher than that because great coach, great guy. So I'm really happy to see him do well and all that stuff. But yeah, it's
What did you see initially with Jim when you were with him in Dubuque? Was it the attention to detail? Was it just how how he was always well prepared? The
yeah,
interaction that he has with his players, and which is clearly something we have seen play out,
yeah,
whether it was there
I
or
think
the
you're
Denver Pioneers. Remember, he was there, and then
yeah,
of course
yeah.
Dallas and Boston in the NHL. The one thing I've heard from start to finish with Jim is players like to play for him.
Yeah, I think you touch all those aspects that make him a great coach. He's a great guy. He's a guy that you are willing to do whatever it takes to win the games. That's the mentality you have when you play for him. And at the same time, those small details, he's so good at making sure that everything is set up and all the details are on top of the things. And just overall, like he was a really good, like he was a great player. Like he was a really smart hockey player. So obviously you can see that from the coaching side too, that those small details he was able to pull out in middle of the game too. It's just I think that makes a big difference between him and other coaches. Like just a great eye for what you should do and what you should not be doing if you want to actually win those games. So I think it's just a mix of everything of that. It just makes him a great coach.
Exactly, and you obviously saw what he was able to do with the Boston Bruins this year. Just an
Yeah,
outstanding. I know the first round exit to Florida was disappointing, but still, it was an outstanding regular season, one of the best ever in NHL history. And Jim Montgomery, and a great job by him too to rehabilitate not only his career but his life. Obviously, we know he had
yep,
a battle with alcoholism
yeah,
a few years ago. So to see him bounce back from that, and certainly someone that was coached by him a little bit. I'm sure you're happy to see him back on his feet again following that situation. So it's good to see Jim doing well once again. I want to point out too, in terms of you're a defenseman, left shot defenseman, from what I see. What if you had to sum up? What does Niklas Nevalainen do best as a defenseman? Do you consider yourself, hey, I clean up things in my own end, I take care of the puck? Or am I one of those defensemen that doesn't mind getting up into the play, joining the rush, playing power play or whatever? So tell us a little bit about your style of play, your game.
I I would like to say that I'm a really good skater, just a really
Yep.
smooth skater, and I always was the guy who was handling the puck and just playing the offensive side of the game for sure. But still at the same time, I think it's a little bit Finnish mindset that I still was always kind of having a big pride of not letting myself to get too out of control in that wise that I was always wanted to take care of my own net too and making sure we don't get scored on. So I think that was just a big part of my hockey style too every time. And yeah, and so far in my career I always been the guy who would just jump on the rush and stuff like that. But last year in Sheffield I had a D partner who was just really hungry for joining the Russ and stuff like that. So I actually end up being a little bit more cleaning lady type of guy last year. So
Yeah, you had to cover his ass for all the mistakes he'd make. Yeah.
yeah, but he's like I say, he's a good player, and I at this point I'm 30 years old. I'm just trying to win something. So it's not
Right.
it's not anymore just trying to push yourself as far as possible. It's just more about making sure whatever gives the team the best chance to win, and that's I'm all about it now. So it's if it takes a little, if you have to take a little hit to make sure that the team can win, I'm willing to do that. So
there you go. You're Erik Karlsson. He whatever it takes to win a championship now, win a
yeah,
win a trophy at this stage of
yeah,
your career. I
yeah,
think you're a little better defensively though than Erik Karlsson. I must say that. I think that's not a stretch.
yeah, yeah. I can probably say that, but he might be just a slightly better in offensive side of the game then.
Yeah, just slightly. Yeah, just slightly. Not much though.
Yeah,
Not much. Just
yeah.
slightly. Just
I still remember him playing in back in the when the lockout season was. He came to play in Jokerit in Helsinki,
That's right. Yeah.
yeah, and I think he played on half the season until Christmas because then NHL started again after the New Year's, and he ended up playing 30 games, and I think he had like 32 points or 35 points, and he ended up winning the scoring title for a D-man. Even he was the only guy who played on half the games
Yeah,
and
that's
stuff.
incredible.
And yeah, and he back. I think he was pretty young. He was like 20, 22, 23 ish back then, but
You
he
would have been
already
still
had
with
like.
Ottawa back then. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He came from Ottawa and he already had like few 65, 70 point season in NHL, and then he came there and like I still remember everybody was just in A, like that's just magic what he was doing on the ice.
Yeah, that's the one thing I know. He's got his issues defensively at times. I get it, but at the offensive end, man, you're right. I mean, the skating ability, the vision on the ice, what he can see,
Yeah,
the fact that he has the puck on a string on the power play. I will say that.
yeah,
Like it's just very, very difficult to defend the power play because he's more often than not making the right play. He'll pound the puck with that blistering shot when he sees the opportunity. He'll goad you into shooting, thinking he's going to shoot the puck, and then he'll pass it off, and there's someone wide open. There's a one-timer or whatever, and you got no chance. And it puts his teammate in a perfect position to score, and that's why he's coming off the kind of season he just had in the NHL with 100 points last year for the San Jose Sharks. And of course, on the trade block now, just a question of where he is going to land. And that this is dragging out because all the teams that are involved, Toronto and San Jose, Pittsburgh and Carolina and Seattle, they're trying to juggle their cap situation to make it fit to trade for a guy like Erik Karlsson. So this isn't going to be determined anytime soon. This is still going to play out, I think, for another few weeks in terms of actually getting this trade done with Karlsson.
yeah. I think there's so many moving parts on that you have to make sure you can get it right. So it's actually really I'm really curious to see where he ends up at. And I think it would be kind of pretty fun to see him go with the Maple Leafs to have Riley, Klimberg, and Carlson on the same team. That would be, I think that would be something special for sure. And but yeah, with Erik Carlson too, still talking about him. Probably those few issues he had in his those leg issues with Achilles and stuff like that. Probably have made some regression on his skating, but then when you watch him last year, still like the hockey IQ he has, it's just on the other level comparing those other guys for sure. So there's not it's not an accident that you score 100 points as a D man in NHL. So
There's no doubt. I mean, it go all the way back to the glory days, where you had Bobby Orr and Paul Coffey even way back in the
yeah,
day. And there's something cool about watching a defenseman who can just skate like the wind,
oh
who
yeah,
could just
yeah,
absolutely just shoot up the ice and just make an incredible offensive play, and just set up their teammates. And Erik Karlsson's definitely in that realm with
yeah,
the way he's played throughout his NHL career, no
yeah.
question. So
But
St.
at the
Cloud
same time,
State. Oh, yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
sorry, no, I was just giving a little add to that. Like at the same time, when you watch Miro Heiskanen from Dallas,
Yeah,
I think
great Finnish player.
he's the best skater you see. But
Improved
I
so
think the
much
one,
defensively too from when he started. Yep.
yeah, for sure, he's getting stronger and kind of learned the ways to make those things done. But at the same time, I think he's been really solid defensively the whole time, and I think that's the one part that is kind of holding him back a little bit, that he's also really reliable in the D side of the puck rather than just always pushing for the offense. And he's still, I'm not fully sure, but what he had, like 65, 70 points last year, something like that. So it's not like his offensive numbers never gonna probably go that high. But when you have a guy that you can play, what in playoffs, he played like 35 minutes a game.
Oh, he was
So
just an
yeah,
absolute beast he was for the Dallas Stars. And
yeah,
the reason I say that, Nicholas, is because let's be honest, Dallas defensively, there's a huge drop off to me on their blue line after Miro Heiskanen. If you look at their blue line and the way it lined up, no wonder Peter DeBoer is asking Miro Heiskanen to play upwards of 30 minutes, in the
oh yeah, for
playoffs
sure.
because they had Ryan Suter's best days are behind him.
Yeah,
They had Harley and Handley, who are young guys.
yeah,
Essa Lindell's solid, but he can sometimes have the odd blunder. Hockenpah was banged up throughout a lot of the
yeah,
series or the
yeah,
playoffs as well. They just had to.
yeah.
He actually carried that six on the blue line for much of the
Oh
playoffs.
yeah, for
Dallas.
sure. Because
Yep.
I think Lindell and Hakanpää, they used to be a really solid pair, but you can see that Hakanpää was really banged up, and when you have that big of a guy that who can't really skate anymore, it becomes really hard to play playoff hockey. And I think that kind of took the toll on Lindell too. So they weren't playing well. Like you say, Ryan Suter is just those days are way behind, and then
And we saw the
those other
blunder in the series against, I think it was Vegas.
yeah,
I mean, it was just
Vegas,
a bad
yeah,
mistake at a
yeah,
bad
oh
time.
yeah,
One game,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and then those two guys are just
Yep.
gonna be really good guys, but just not good enough, and kind of not lightweight guys, but not heavy guys either. So when they played Vegas, you could see that those guys were just getting thrown around by those big guys in Vegas.
Yeah, no doubt, no question. We'll definitely get to some more NHL talk with
Yep,
Nicholas in just a sec, but we're going to get back to him just for a second because I want
yep,
to talk about the St. Cloud State days because he had 4 seasons there, U.S. college hockey. And it's unfortunate that my colleague who was going to be with us for this interview, Alex, is
yep.
having technical issues because guess what? He lives in Minnesota right
No
now.
way.
So he knows all about the U.S. college scene
Yep.
and how fierce the rivalries can be. So how fierce were the rivalries that your school, St. Cloud State, would have with, say, Minnesota Duluth and the Minnesota Golden Gophers? I mean, obviously the in-state rivalries that you were part of. How big were they when you were playing there?
I think they are huge. I think the biggest rivalry was with the Gophers, but kind of, I would say it's kind of tough situation in that wise. Obviously, those games when you played against them, it's always sold out house, and it's a huge news whole week and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But my 4 years, the first year we only played them once, and that was in the NCAA tournament, and we lost. They had a really good team. We didn't really have a chance. We lost 4-0 or something like that. But after that, in the next 3 years, they were kind of young, just building up the new core of the team. So they weren't good. And all my years we were really good. So I think we didn't lost them once after my first year. And those games really didn't get the actual feel of big rivalry because they weren't like we were just much better than them back in that time when I was playing there. So, but yeah, it's hockey is a huge thing in Minnesota and in college hockey overall, all
Yeah.
over the states. And I'm actually
It's not called the state of hockey for nothing. Yeah.
no, it's not. And I came there knowing nothing basically. I there wasn't like I I think now there's like 40 guys from Finland to play college hockey. When I went there, there was 4 guys.
Yeah. I think you're seeing it with not just U.S. college hockey, but any junior league in North
Yeah,
America. You're
yep,
seeing
yep,
Germans and Swedes and
yeah,
Finns and
yeah,
Russians, and you're going down the list. You're seeing many more Latvians as well. I mean,
yep,
you're seeing
yeah,
many more of them deciding, you know what, for my late teens, early 20s, I'm going to go there and I'm going to play in either the Canadian Hockey League or I'm going to
yep,
play U.S. college hockey. Or you're seeing that a lot, and I think it's because they don't want it to be a complete freaking culture shock when they jump to the pros in North America. They want to experience the smaller ice and kind of get settled in and established and see what that's like and not be totally overwhelmed by it, at the pro level where I go there, play junior or college hockey in North America. I'm exposed and experienced enough now with going to the North American style of hockey and that, the size of the ice over there. You're at least accustomed to it before you even get to the pros.
Yeah, that's right. And I think for sure one of the biggest reason in coming to the USA and playing college hockey for Finnish guys is the education you get. Like there is no other way around that you get to play really, really high level of hockey and you still get an education out of it. And you get treated like a really good pro hockey player. The only thing is that you are not getting paid, but the school is paid and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
and I think it's just overall, like the world overall, it's a lot more open now. Like you can watch those college games, you can watch USHL games, I can be on the podcast with you right now, but that's back in what 15 years ago, it would be a lot harder. Like I said, I didn't even know that there is such a thing as a college hockey. So I think it's just, and I still think for Finnish guys, if you are not for sure gonna be a first round NHL player who's gonna earn 50 to 60 million, you should think about getting the college route because the hockey is really high level. You're only gonna get better, and at the same time you're gonna get the education. So at least when you're done, you have something to fall on right away.
Any wild party nights when you were there at St. Cloud State, or did you keep things pretty relaxed and not too much into the big binging?
No, it's a good time. It's a good time. Really, really, really good time for 4 years. I really enjoyed it, and yeah. But after 4 years, you are ready to move on and start the actual real life. After that, it's so yeah. I like I said, I had a great time. I'm really, really happy that I took that route and I went there.
Absolutely. So you went back to Finland. That's where you got started in the pro ranks. Several years there, playing
Yeah,
in one of the Finnish leagues. There was which Finnish league was it there that you were in?
that's just the
Main one. Yeah,
highest Liga,
that's what I thought.
which is
Yeah,
called Liga. Yep,
yeah,
yep,
yeah. I see
yep,
that definitely. Yep.
yeah,
And
yeah.
look, you had some seasons there with 16, 18, 13 points. So you had 5 seasons there. But then the opportunity. So how did the opportunity arise for you to go to the elite ice hockey league in the UK in England? Of course, last year you just completed your first season there with the Sheffield team there, Sheffield Steelers. 23 is 20. How about the stat line, man? You got to explain this to me. 23 points, all assists last year for the Sheffield Steelers.
Yeah, do you want to start with that? Well, I have never been a much of a shooter. I've always been just like a passer, and I would always take a rather nice pass than ugly goal. So I'm just trying to see back doors and stuff like that. So I don't really. I had my chance. I just couldn't score last year. So, but at the same time, it's just like I said, I would rather take a nice assist and a goal. And it's been just kind of the way it's been whole my career for sure. And but yeah, well, I had no goals in the regular season. Then I had three in the playoffs. So I was trying to save all those goals for the big games.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I'm always confused when it comes to that league a little bit, and same thing goes with the soccer in England, the Premier League. Like you've got the league championship, you've got this League Cup thing, you've got
Yeah.
the FA Cup. I can't keep them all straight. There's like 3 different cups you can win in these. Your English Soccer League, English Hockey League. But talk about how the opportunity came for you to go to
Yeah.
Sheffield and play there.
Yeah, if we go back, like I said, I played 4 years in Finland in Liga, and my last year was kind of difficult. It was the COVID year. My coach was just didn't like me right from the start. It was kind of tough. I was trying to move on or go to the other team or somewhere in the other leagues in Europe. But at the same time, like I say, it was the COVID year, and my wife was expecting our child, so I didn't want to go anywhere else, and I was asking them to loan me out for another team, but they wouldn't do that either. So it took until end of January that I was loaned out for another team. So I end up finishing the season there and kind of getting the joy of hockey back a little bit. And then yeah, I had few options to stay in Finland, play in the Liga. But at the same time, I was like, I don't want to be the sixth, seventh D man with pretty bad money and just play there. And I still want to see something else too. So I had this opportunity to go play in Norway, and I actually in that year I found the happiness of hockey and the enjoyment of hockey again. And it was a really fun year out there. And then yeah, I had a pretty good year there. So I had a lot of teams asking around in yeah, in other teams in Norway, in Denmark. There was a few teams in Germany, and then some teams in Austria. And I think that would have been probably the best option hockey wise to go there. But at the same time, I know that there's not that many years left, and I have a wife and a kid, so I just Sheffield made a really good offer. I talked with a few guys, few Finnish guys who played there. They had only
Everybody
good
else
things.
gets the bag. Why shouldn't you? Right? You
Yeah,
go
I
after
know,
what's going to
and
be a
yeah,
good offer.
yeah. And
Yeah.
at the same
'Cause you got
time,
a kid
the
now,
other,
as you said. Yep.
yeah, and other things around that too. Like I was able to put my kid in the English speaking daycare. All the other things are taken care of in English, so obviously it's a little bit different and easier for us to go there. And I only heard good things about the apartments and stuff like that. That actually matters when you travel with the whole family. So yeah, I like I say, it's just it was actually, and the one thing I liked about with Sheffield and the coach Aaron Fox, that when I talked with him, it was only like 2 days later he had the offer ready for me and ready to be signed. So it was really fast, and yeah, it just, let's put it this way, it's really easy. Like they made things really easy, which I like. So that was I thought that's the best opportunity for us as a whole family to go there.
And how have you enjoyed the experience of spending, a year or so now in England? I mean, from a business standpoint, for me, I always said England's way ahead of the times. I mean, I've been in the sports betting industry now for 12 years,
Yep,
and only the last couple of years has it blown up and become huge in North
yep,
America. But
yep,
in England, I mean, for many, many
yep,
years, way back, even decades, place to there'd be some place, almost every corner to place bets
yep.
in England. I mean, it was always big
Oh yeah,
there,
for
but a
sure. Yeah,
very nice country, and not a lot of people that I've talked to that have gone to England say they didn't have a great experience there.
yeah. I was kind of blind when I went there in to play that league. I didn't really know that much about it league, but it's a really good league. You can they even increase the number of imports you can have. So next year you're gonna have 15 instead of 14 imports. So you bring those guys from Sweden, Finland, Canada, USA,
Yep.
and those are good players. They are a bunch of college guys and stuff like that. So it's a really good league. It's a really good hockey. The hockey reminds you a lot of North American hockey overall. I think most of the coaches are, if not all, are from USA or Canada. So obviously that makes the thing. And the thing, I wasn't aware that the hockey is getting really popular out there. I think we average what 6,990 people per game, which
I
is
had
with
Michael Krokock on the show last year, right before the
yeah,
NHL season started. He plays for Guildford, Guildford over
yeah.
there in England,
Oh yeah,
Guildford
yeah.
Flames.
Yep.
And he said the same thing, that slowly but surely, piece by piece, brick by brick, hockey in the UK is gaining steam. Now, it's not going to
Yep.
happen that it's going to be a huge explosion in popularity overnight, but he
Yep.
can see that there's slowly some momentum building for people interested in hockey over there. Just normal fans, of course. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
Yep.
like I said, I was really surprised. They're
Yep.
really passionate.
Yep.
There's a lot of fans going to the games in most of I think all of the cities. Like the atmosphere is really good at the games, and yeah, but at the same time, even in Sheffield, you got what more than 500,000 people living there. So obviously, you can find somebody who likes hockey too, and I think it's just overall the sport culture in UK is a really big. It doesn't matter if it's rugby, hockey, football, whatever it
NFL's trying to
is.
get popular. NFL
Yep,
goes to London,
yep,
England every year
yep,
to try to get
yep,
American football popular
yep,
there.
yeah,
Baseball's even, went to London a few weeks ago with the Cubs and the Cardinals. So the North American sports are trying to get their foothold in England and
yep,
seeing if there's a market there for it.
yep, for sure, for sure. And like I say, it's really stood out all those facts that out there, and yeah, it's just the only not an issue, but the only thing is that it's a long season, like you said. You play 54 regular season games, then you play at least 10 games in the cup, and then you still have the small playoffs to finish. So it's a lot of games. It's kind of long season, and they don't do any national team breaks like they do in any other league. So basically, now that when we start the next season on September 9th, the next free weekend is gonna be end of April when the season is done. So it's really intense. So yeah, so but yeah, it's good to be back, and excited
And
to
you're
go
going
there
back to
in
Sheffield next season. You're going to be playing
yep,
for them again. Good, good, good.
yep,
Yeah.
just gonna go there, and we're gonna actually leave in probably in 3 weeks to get there a little bit earlier, just to have time to do a little sightseeing, go see some stuff before the season starts, because when the season starts, it gets really busy. So
Yeah, no question, no question. Now we talked about this a little bit before we started the interview here. We'll talk about it now as well. I'm just totally impressed, admire what Finland hockey has done the last 10, 15 years, just the development, the growth. This is a country with 5 million people, approximately, just a little more than that, which is stuff you could stick the population of Finland in a thimble compared to the United States or
yeah,
Canada, some of these other countries. And yet here's Finland going basically toe to toe with Russia, Sweden, US, Canada in these international tournaments and not backing down, like not only being competitive, but also winning some of the time as well. I've been so impressed with it the last few years. Now, it started with the goaltending, where it seemed like goaltenders in particular were just, it was like a factory. And Finland was just producing just these terrific goaltenders. There's been so many of them over the years, whether it's been Tuukka Rask and UC Saros and Pekka Rinne in Nashville, Antti Ranta in Carolina. It's just go on and on. Jonas Korpisalo, of course, right now, who has just been signed by the Ottawa Senators. A little bit of a late bloomer, but you find out when he was with LA last year, you put him on a good hockey team,
yep,
and he can be a really good goaltender. You put him with the Swiss cheese defense in front of him, that's a different story. But you
yep,
put him
yep,
against a better team, and suddenly he plays a lot better. So the goaltenders that they have produced at this level, it's been impressive to see. And now it's seeping in the last, I would say, 5, 10, 15 years to the forward group and the defense as well. We talked about Miro Heiskanen already, yeah, a premier defenseman in the NHL. Rope Hintz, also for the Dallas Stars. Mikko Rantanen for the Colorado Avalanche. Alexander Barkov, Florida Panthers. I mean, they've just so many quality, talented Finnish players now, especially at the NHL level. Kasperi Kapanen, Teuvo Teravainen, Arturi Lehkonen. I mean, I could go on and on, Nicholas, for
yep,
days about
yep,
just how this country, this little engine that could, from a hockey perspective, Finland has just completely transformed, and their program has gotten stronger with maybe not as many financial resources and money, not even close to the population of some of these other countries. And to me, it's been one of the most impressive success stories. And I think their success, Nicholas, has filtered down to some of these other smaller countries. Germany's hockey program is starting to generate some momentum and steam. Denmark, same thing. Latvia, same thing. And I think those three countries in particular, where I'm seeing tremendous growth in hockey the last few years, it doesn't happen if Finland doesn't give them somewhat of a blueprint and say, hey, you're a smaller country, but if you do it the right way, you can improve as a nation as far as developing hockey players and get people into the sport. Finland set the tone, if you will, and now you see Germany, Denmark, Latvia, all kinds of other countries getting better. But no, what your homeland has done, Niklas, in hockey the last 15 years for the population they've got, it's been very, very impressive.
Yeah, you're right about that. It's really impressive, and I was just thinking about that when you were talking that when I was a little kid and I used to follow NHL, there was only probably like, well, we had good players, but let's say when you line up the top scorers in the league, you had Teemu Selänne out there, and he was the only one, and you were always hoping that he would get close to the top and stuff like that. But now when you open up the top page of the scoring leaders in the whole league, you might have Mikko Rantanen third, you have Alexander Barkov sixth, Sebastian Aho eighth. So you might have 3 Finnish guys in the top 10 in the whole league, which is like, and the funny thing is that when you have that now, the people in Finland are thinking about that's the normal.
Yep.
Even it's not, like, you have to realize that those guys are guys that you get in this small country. You don't get those every year. You get those guys probably like every 6 years, every 10 years. Obviously, you would like to have guys like that every 2 years, but you just don't get. So I think we should really appreciate that time right now that we have young Finnish players who are actually superstars in the whole league, not just in their teams, but in the whole league. And yeah, I don't know. It's just what I've been hearing and what I've been seeing. It's gonna be a little bit slump coming out of the Finnish system right now. There's not that many great players or not that many great goalies coming out of the system right now. So
and what you mean by that is maybe not a ton of like the high-end first-round picks that you might see
yeah,
from Finland
exactly.
for the
We
next few
probably,
years.
I think I'm for sure that we're gonna still be able to produce some NHL level players, but we're gonna be missing guys that were gonna be first rounders or who are gonna be superstars for sure in NHL. And yeah, I don't think we're gonna have those guys in next 4 or 5 years at least. And yeah, you talk about the goalie factory. Basically, we had guys when I was younger. We had Kari Lehtonen played in Dallas, in Atlanta. Antti Niemi, who played for San Jose, Chicago. Antti Niitymäki, who played for Philadelphia. All
My
those
guy
guys.
Alex, I got to say something about Niemi, Nicholas. My guy Alex
Yeah,
B. Smith, who I do the show with,
yeah,
he's not only from Minnesota, but he was originally from. He lives in Minnesota and he's lived there for
yeah,
a long time. But he's originally from
yeah.
Chicago, and he's a big Chicago Blackhawks fan. He's even shocked they won a Stanley Cup with Niemi. And he always has said to me on the show, any goalie can win a Stanley Cup when Niemi won. But I'm like, you're being a little too harsh on him. He did have a few good years there.
Yeah, I know he was good when he needed to be good. Let's
Yeah,
put it that way.
that's
So,
right.
but yeah, I was just saying, like, and I think after that, all those Finnish goalie coaches started to go to Russia, and they started to produce players like Vasilevsky and those guys. And I still think that Sergei Bobrovsky, he comes to Finland every summer, a month before the season starts in NHL, and trains with the Finnish goalie coach in the national team place called Vierumäki every year. So
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
yeah, at least he was doing that a few years ago. So I don't know if he's changed the system or not, but that's what he was doing. And but yeah, so I just don't really see that there is a good goalies coming out of the system right now. So I really hope they can find a way to kind of fix the situation, and we can get to back to that high level of guys we had in let's say 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, no question. And I think international hockey is going to keep getting more and more competitive.
Yeah,
Like the days of the 80s and 90s are over where it can only be Canada, only be the US, only be
yeah,
Russia. only be Sweden winning these gold medals in these tournaments, whether it's under 18 junior or the World Junior Hockey Championship or the World Hockey Championship or Olympics. I mean, all of a sudden now you're getting great competition and great pushback from every country you play. There's no gimme victories anymore. In those international tournaments. And, I've got to tell some of my Canadian obsessed hockey fans that are always ready to say, we got to make some changes here when Hockey Canada falls short and they don't win a gold medal. They say, we got to, this guy played like shit and this coach can't make adjustments. And they basically some of these snobby, if you will, Canadian hockey fans, a couple of them are my friends, I have to say, but they act like shitheads sometimes. And I don't mind saying that. They act like shitheads, like it's our birthright to always win gold every single time. And I have to tell them, well, hold on now. Maybe stop talking about how our players weren't good, how our players choked. Stop talking about how our players didn't get the job done, and give credit to Russia and Sweden and Finland, especially. Finland's beaten Canada a few times. And a couple of my friends just refused to give Finland any credit, saying, oh, Canada didn't get the job done. Canada lost, not Finland won. And I'm like, well, hold on now. We're in a different era of hockey now where these other countries are getting better. And I mentioned not just Germany and Latvia and Denmark, but Norway is coming along here a little bit in terms of their nation. Switzerland for years has been good and strong and getting better. And you see what they had at the World Hockey Championship with their team. They've got Nico Hischier and Kevin Fiala on that team, two just tremendous NHL players. So, yeah, it's not that time anymore to be just assuming, hey, it's going to be another easy ride for not just Canada, Russia, U.S., any of the heavyweights of international hockey for the last several decades. No, the smaller countries are pushing back and giving them a game now.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Norway and Denmark are still a step behind for sure. But Switzerland and Germany are like, you can't just turn your head for those countries anymore. Like those guys they are producing really good NHL level players.
I think Germany is going to be a heavy hitter in hockey in maybe 10 to 20 years from now. I really think so.
For sure. You have when you think about Germany, you have the population that you can find the guys. You just have to find kind of right way to produce those guys. And I think they are doing something right for sure right now. So I think the level is getting really high and it's just growing up all the time, which is only a good thing. And because it's when I was a little kid, we always used to watch the World Championship. Like that was the biggest tournament every spring to watch. And I remember crying many times when Finland lost the final against Sweden or against Czech a few times and stuff like that. So then we ended up. I'm born 93. We won it first time in 95 and then second time 2011. So I was already like a little bit older. And now we won it twice in a row in 2021 and 22. So now again this spring everybody was already thinking like, okay, we're gonna win it again. And I was thinking in my head too, like, okay, like now we are getting a little bit too cocky out of like, it's like those other countries are good. Like we have had a really good system, good coach, good players to bring in and just come into play in the tournament. And now we are thinking that we can win it every year. And then we ended up losing against Canada in semifinals. So it's just like you said, it's the level of hockey is really increasing in Europe too. So yeah, watch out there.
I always love hearing the excuses, too, from my fellow Canadians when we don't win the World Hockey Championship, saying, our best players are still in the NHL playing for in the playoffs. Well, you don't think Finland and Sweden and those countries have some players still in the NHL playing in the playoffs right now?
Trust me. I have a bunch of those conversations with my guys from college, too, because I had a bunch of teammates from Canada and a bunch of teammates from the States. So I had that conversation many times too. They are like, oh, well, all the best players from us are still playing in NHL. I was like, well, it's the same thing for us too. And for you guys have 50 top players you can pick and choose. And let's say 20 of those are out of the playoffs. And if you can get at least 10 of those to come in and then you fill those, then rest of the spots you can fill still with the really good NHL players.
Yep.
If Finland has 20 top guys, 15 are still in the playoffs. You're only gonna have 5 guys, and then out of those 5 guys, 2 of the guys are like the contracts are ending in the summer. They won't come. So you got 3 guys. You hope they are healthy. So you maybe bring in those guys, and rest of the guys you're gonna fill up with the players from the European leagues, which are really good leagues, but obviously still NHL is NHL. So I think it's I understand the situation why it's not getting really popular in the USA, because it's the same time you get the NHL playoffs, you got NBA playoffs, all that stuff, and it's not the top players. But for us Europeans, it's a big tournament for sure.
You know what? You read my script, man. I swear. You know what I'm going to ask before I'm going to ask the question. That's what I was honestly going to fucking ask you just now.
Yeah.
Was about the fact that European countries, I find, take that World Hockey Championship very seriously. Like, there's a huge
Yep.
event over there. And I find the North American hockey fan in the US and even in Canada, it's like, yeah, it'd be nice to win the World Hockey Championship, but we're not going to like be totally into it, totally invested in it every second. Or if we lose and we don't win the World Hockey Champ, we'll survive. Whereas the Olympics, I mean, obviously that's everyone wants to see Canada win in the Olympics here. I find the World Hockey Championship, you're right, just the interest and the enthusiasm behind it for Canada in particular, it doesn't match what you see over in Europe.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think the Stanley Cup playoffs going on at the same time is a big part of the reason why.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like I said, I completely understand that. It's probably would be the same issue if I would be living out there, but at the same time, it's a big thing for us, and I think it's a big thing for those players who are coming into play. But I think the biggest thing we should have is to have those players, all the top players, to play in Olympics or play like do the World Cup.
That's what the new NHLPA guy is trying to hammer out with Gary Bettman and Bill Daly in the NHL. Let's get this shit done here. Let's get like something just agreed to. Yeah,
like just make it
best
happen.
On best.
Yeah, just make it happen. Like I remember when was it 2004 or might have been, I'm not fully sure, but Finland was actually pretty close to beat Canada or I think they might have beaten Canada in the World Cup with Tuomo Ruutu scoring the goal and stuff like that. But when you went those tournaments as a hockey fan, you knew that we have good NHL players, but not good enough. Like Canada and USA, they can bring guys that are like out of, like, you can fill the fourth line with the guys that would be the first line by far for Finland. But now I would actually like to see all those guys to go to Olympics or do the World Cup, because we have, like we talk about, we have guys like Alexander Barkov, Sebastian Aho, Patrick Laine, Mikko Rantanen, all those guys who are actually coming in. They are 25 to 28 right now, like on just getting close to their prime of the career. So I would actually like to see how Finland would be able to match up with the best of the best with those other countries, with all those really good players we have right now.
Exactly. Now's the timing is right to see, a best on best, because you've got Finland that would be a very, very competitive, strong team for any opponent, to try to beat right now.
Yeah, and I was gonna add that even in Canada, I think it's gonna be the few last years that you would have Connor McDavid on his prime. Sidney Crosby would still be the leader of the team, because let's say, if you push it back for 3 more years, is he still
people
playing?
Are bitching in this country. We haven't seen McDavid and Crosby in a play for Canada together yet.
And you don't have many of those years left anymore.
No,
let's be honest. Like, you never know how it's gonna go with Crosby too, with all the injuries he is having throughout the career. So I think we should really, really try to make that tournament happen as soon as possible for all the hockey fans in the world.
Yeah, it's time to get it done. I've definitely said this. I know everyone I've talked to agrees. Like, we need best on, whether it's Olympics or World Cup. We got to
Yeah.
find a way to get this done and get a best on best tournament ASAP. And I'm not talking like 5 or 10 years from now. I'm talking let's get something fucking done in the next year or two. Like, let's
Yeah.
go. Let's get something done here, and let's get something finalized, because it's been
Yeah,
far too long.
I can give it 2 more years, but in that span, we should have a tournament,
Yeah,
at
yeah.
least one of those tournaments, and just to find a way to make it
If
happen.
not the next
So
Winter Olympics, then make a World Cup. It's
yeah,
very, very
for
simple,
sure,
very cut and
for
dry,
sure,
as
for
far as
sure.
I'm concerned.
I think it would be a huge population watching it. I think it would be really popular for the fans in Europe, the fans in the USA, the fans in Canada, because it's been so long that the last time all those top teams were able to get together and actually get all the top players to play. So
No doubt, no doubt. All right, well, for the last 10, 15 minutes here, we'll talk about some NHL stuff. Just brief, just overall from your perspective, Nicholas, in terms of free agent movement and
yep.
signings that have happened. What are some teams that you think have impressed you? And if you want to talk about Vegas winning the Stanley Cup, I've talked about it a million times. Vegas winning the Stanley Cup. There's nothing more I can add other than, lines 1 through 4, forwards 1 through 12, and defensemen 1 through 6. There's no deeper team in the NHL in those playoffs than
Yeah.
Vegas. They fully deserved winning the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
So you can talk about that and any free agent signings and teams that you think have improved themselves the last few weeks.
Obviously, there's been a lot of things going on that I'm not even fully sure if I'm how much I missed and how much I still would need to catch up. But for sure, I've been reading the news and checking out stuff from Twitter and stuff like that. But yeah, let's start with Vegas. Just one short sentence out of it, because I think that was I think they were the best team. I think they were the best team for sure, and they deserved to win. But they were the only team that I didn't want to win because all those other 4 top teams, all those other 3 teams, we had at least 2 Finnish players, and it would have been really nice to have
I
at
get it.
least
Rooting for the fellow countrymen. Yeah.
somebody to bring the Stanley Cup to Finland for sure. But yeah, we talk about that in Finland. It's all over the news too, that for sure it's gonna be Vegas who's gonna win now, because every other team would have the Stanley Cup in Finland for 2 months in the summer, because there's so many Finnish players on those teams. But yeah, that's all I had to say. But yeah, I went those through a little bit today after I got my daughter to bed too. So I still think Colorado is gonna be they're gonna be an issue for any other team in NHL for sure. Their defense is
Blip on
stacked.
the radar that they got bounced by Seattle last year a little bit.
Yeah, I know. It's that was shock for me for sure.
And it's tough as
But
fuck
now,
to repeat as Stanley Cup champions. Now they'll get the fire back in their belly again to try to win one, I think. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. And now they had who they had. They got the Ross Colton from Tampa Bay.
Great addition. Yep. Love
Yeah,
it. Miles
I think
Wood.
it's gonna be. Yeah, Miles Wood. Yeah, really good. And I'm a big believer of Ryan Johansson, that he's gonna find kind of the new beginning with the Avalanche and with the good line mates, and kind of new just a new atmosphere, new surroundings, and everything is new. He's gonna have to take a little bit more. I don't know the guy. I'm just saying that maybe he's gonna get a little fire under his ass again, and I hope, and I think he's gonna be a really good player for them next year.
Yeah, I think so too. And of course, 2 of your fellow Finns on Colorado, Lehkonen and
Yeah,
Rantanen, for the Colorado Avalanche. And you're right. I don't think they're going anywhere. I know this was a disappointing follow-up to winning the Stanley
yeah,
Cup. But
yeah.
always it would be disappointing when you get bounced in the first round after winning the Stanley Cup. But I don't think that means Colorado is suddenly, Stanley Cup window is closing. No, they will be
No,
right there again. Yeah.
yeah, for sure, and they still got the core group of those guys are coming back, and all those guys are still fairly young and stuff like that. So I think they're gonna be a really good team again, and I really like both those Finnish guys on the team. I think Lehkonen is probably one of the most underrated Finnish players in NHL overall. and I think Mikko Rantanen, in my opinion, he's the best Finnish hockey player we have right now.
I agree with that. Certainly forward wise, there's no question. I think overall player, he's got competition with Heiskanen, probably on Dallas, but I'm talking forward. There's no one better from Finland right now, in my opinion, than Rantanen. And that's with all due respect to Barkov. But I thought Barkov was a little tepid offensively during the playoffs. Even though I love defensively what he does, I thought Rantanen kind of passed him just slightly.
Exactly same. I love Sasa Barkov. I think he's really close to perfect hockey player you can find. But I was really disappointed with the offensive output he was able to produce during the playoffs. So because that the way he was playing, it would be completely fine if he's a second line center. But he's getting paid 10 million a year. He should be the guy who's leading the way. And even now, when there's Matthew Tkachuk was the guy who's leading the way, it should be even more better way for Barkov to just kind of step right behind him and able to produce some offense too. So yeah, I wasn't really happy about that when kind of how they fell off on that way. So yeah, that kind of took my vote for Mikko Rantanen for sure. And but yeah, like you said, if you go overall, maybe Heiskanen is giving the competition, but I still would think that for right now and as of now, Mikko Rantanen is the best Finnish hockey player we have seen in years. So
he's absolutely outstanding. There's no question. 5-on-5 power play is an absolute weapon on the power play. So
and that guy is just a unit out there. He's strong, skillful, can shoot, can pass. So it's just basically everything you want from the winger or center.
No doubt, and it's always fun to watch him play. How about I want to ask about the LA Kings in particular, because it's a polarizing team that everyone I've talked to has got differing opinions. They think, you know what, Pierre-Luc Dubois trading for him and getting him means they're as deep as any team down the middle, and it's hard to disagree with Kopitar, Dubois, and Philip Deneau now slides down to the third line center. That's pretty damn impressive. But he gave up Gabe Vilardi to get him, and I love the way he played last year for the LA Kings. And Dubois still has those concerns about, is he going to be buying in, night out, playing his best night in, night out. He's had some falling out with Columbus, falling out with Winnipeg, where he didn't want to be there anymore. He wanted out. Is he going to have that dedication here in LA now that he's with a contender? He's in obviously a place where, very comfortable in terms of you're not noticed as much in LA, state of Winnipeg. The weather obviously is great there. So maybe it's going to get the best out of Pierre-Luc Dubois, and it certainly strengthens them down the middle. But there's also some people that say he might shake up chemistry. Maybe he's going to have these issues where he doesn't show up every night like he did in Winnipeg. And they gave up a great player in Vilardi to get him. I think LA felt pushed, Niklas, to make this kind of move because Edmonton Oilers have become that monkey on their back. They can't beat Edmonton now. The last 2 years, they got knocked out in the first round by the Oilers. So I think Rob Blake kind of felt that he had to make this kind of a move. But do you think it's going to work for LA?
That's a good question. Like you said, it might work, but it might not. But obviously, that three of those centers that's a top class center lineup. But at the same time, I just don't really like the team overall. I just don't think there's enough. It's hard to describe, but I just don't think there's enough what it takes to actually go far in the playoffs. And but yeah, that's for sure team to follow through the season and see where they can find their way. But I just don't really see them making any cracks in the playoffs still. And just one thing, so but yeah, other team I kind of follow closely is Columbus Blue Jackets. Obviously there's the Finnish GM Jarmo Kekäläinen, and that obviously gives us Finnish people a little bit more reasons to follow up the team. And obviously now Patrick Laine is playing there too. So is Patrick Laine going to be a center with Mike Babcock? What do you see?
I'll tell you what, that's a fascinating coaching hire. Right now they've got him slotted at wing right now. possibly for next year with Johnny Gaudreau and Boone Jenner. Of course, Adam Fantilli is a center. And, of course, he gets drafted by the Columbus Blue Jackets in this year's draft. So I think he actually will play wing, Patrick Laine, quite honestly, this season under Mike Babcock.
I hope he does. I just don't see that his playing style fits to play as a center at all. But I might be wrong. I just saw one of the interview he was giving that he has been practicing with.
He's another moody bastard, Patrick Laine. Holy shit! One night he's on, and one night he can't find him with a telescope on the ice.
No, but that's the way he's been since he was always when he has been playing, even in the juniors. So. So because I'm pretty sure there was a story that back in the under 15 national teams, the coach didn't put him on the ice in like last 2 minutes when they're chasing the goal, and I think Laine was threatening the coach.
He got his dander up, yeah.
So he's been on the news before with that too. So, but at the same time, he's so talented. So I kind of hope that he would find a way to get everything out of that the player he can be. So I'm actually curious to see what Mike Babcock can bring in, and I think it's gonna be the last chance for Kekalainen to as a GM. Like that's his hire now. Now he has to make sure that
clock is ticking on Jarmo.
Yeah. I was gonna say that he has been already trying his luck a few times. I didn't really like the last coaching hire that he just had. What was the name? Brad
Larson.
Brad Larson. Yeah, I don't think he was. I don't, like I said, you never know what's going behind the curtains. But I
think Torts suddenly resigned, from Columbus, and when he did that, I think it was like a panic, not a panic situation, but he kind of felt rushed into getting another coach in there. It felt like a rushed hire, like he didn't have a full-on coaching search this time. You're right. He had time to think about this, who to bring in. Now, a guy with baggage. He's a hell of a hockey coach, X's and O's, and pushing. And I get that. There's no doubt about Mike Babcock, and the success in his resume is what it is. It's really strong, but he's also been deemed an asshole. Dean pushing the wrong buttons, and making players do uncomfortable things like that Mitch Marner thing. You talk about all these players and what they could be doing better. That's just ridiculous to me. So you got to, and apparently he's got, behind the scenes a bit of a temper and puts players in uncomfortable situations. Hopefully he's learned from his past mistakes in that regard, but definitely the track record. And you can't debate his X's and O's. You can debate just the way he communicates and the way he goes about it with the relationship with the player.
Like I said, I think that's one of those things that's gonna make or break for Kekalainen. He's gonna either go high with him, or he's gonna sink down with him at the end of the whatever this the result's gonna be with him. So I'm really curious to see how the season is gonna start for them. And
there it is on the screen. Yeah, I was. That's they're a fascinating team, Niklas, for sure. Columbus, because with last year was disappointing, but now they bring in Mike Babcock. We'll have to see how it transpires with them. But I brought it up just before we wrap up the interview. We'll take a look here. This is the Stanley Cup futures board for next year. As you can see, Colorado is the favorite, the betting favorite right now, plus 850. To win the Stanley Cup. And I say this, and Alex and I said this on the free agency recap show, every fucking year Toronto Maple Leafs are like the second favorite. And it's mind-boggling to me for a team that just only won one playoff round in the last 20 years, 19 years. And here they are again, second favorite to win the Stanley Cup, tied with Edmonton. I think Edmonton's closer to winning a Stanley Cup than Toronto. New Jersey plus 1,100, Boston 11-1, Vegas, the defending champs, looking to repeat 11-1. New York Rangers 13, Carolina 14, Tampa Bay 15, Dallas 17, Florida 18, LA Kings 18, and then you got some longer shots 30-30, 33-1 for Pittsburgh, Buffalo 35-1 for Ottawa. I mentioned this already, Niklas, on a previous show. I was shocked that the Seattle Kraken are 35-1, and actually 50-1 in some spots. They were one win away from the conference finals last year. I thought that was way too underpriced, but just as of right now, Niklas, what are some teams that stick out to you as potential to win the Stanley Cup next season?
I think one team who's not gonna win is gonna be Boston Bruins. I think they're gonna have some issues with the salary cap, and now they can't really. I think it's gonna. I think they are gonna
With
be
all due
paying a
respect to
little.
your guy, Jim Montgomery, your former
Oh
coach.
yeah,
Jim.
he's a great guy, but there's only a certain amount of you can do with the players you have, because I think they're gonna pay the price that they went really hard last year with getting Orlov and Hathaway, and now they're just kind of in the shit a little bit with that situation. But the
They don't
one
even
team
know if Bergeron and Krejci are going to be back. It could be
I
both.
was
It could
gonna
be one. It
I
could
was
be neither of them. Yeah.
I was gonna say that that's gonna really blow them up if one of those guys is not gonna show up, or two of those guys. So,
Yep.
but I think, like I said, well, we already talked about with Colorado, and I'm not. I don't like Maple Leafs. Yeah, they're probably gonna make the playoffs again, but I
You
just
and
don't see
everyone
them.
outside of Toronto. Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's no way with that, and I think Carolina, like, they're a really good team, but they would need somebody. They would need a goal scorer. Like, they would need a high end goal scorer, somebody who can win the games for them. Because even last year they lost those games, and they
Not
lost
having
4-0.
Pacioretty and
Yeah,
Svechnikov really did catch up
yeah,
to them. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm kind of curious to see if they can find some more firepower in that place. But one thing, well, I'm kind of taking a little bit with the home advantage, but New Jersey Devils, obviously they have Eric Haula plays there, who is from the same
Yep.
town I am from, and his dad is my agent. So I've been kind of following them pretty closely, and everything I've been hearing from them is that the overall atmosphere in Devils is really good. Like, it's the players like to be there. The players are actually excited to come there from other teams, and the team is young. They have some good deals with Hughes and Hischier,
Yep.
so they have some money to spend around, and the way they played last year, it's good hockey. So yeah, I don't know. If I would have to bet my money, yeah, I would go with Colorado. It's kind of safe bet, but I would like to put a little side bet with the Devils and hope they go far, because I think that's a team that it's really fun to watch for sure.
So here's what I think of New Jersey, and I'm sure I'm going to have a futures bet on New Jersey just because of
Yeah,
what they've got up front alone. It
yeah,
warrants it, and because of the strides they took last year, and they're going to want to take that next step this year. I don't think that's a bad bet. I think there's
yeah.
better bets out there than New
Just
Jersey to win the Stanley Cup, but I don't think it's a bad bet. It's definitely not the worst bet you can make. There's no question.
no,
New
no, but
Jersey,
like I said, it's more about just a fun side bet you can throw. That
yeah.
one of those that you should never, when you bet, you should never
Plus,
follow
same
your
with
heart.
Seattle. I just think Seattle should not be 35
Yeah,
to 1 or
yeah,
50 to 1. They
that's
should be up higher than that.
yeah,
They should be
yeah,
closer
for
to
sure.
20 or 15 to 1.
For sure,
Yeah.
but let's say out of the Colorado and well, obviously out of the Maple Leafs, what do you see? What would be your pick today?
So, Colorado, you mentioned that you like them, and I
Yeah,
wouldn't say that's a bad look because the only thing with them is Georgiev and Francouz, right? The two goalies.
yeah, yeah,
But they
yeah,
won a cup with Kemper, though. I keep going back to that. And
yeah.
so that's
I
why
was
I
gonna
say I
say,
don't worry about that too much. They did win a Stanley
well,
Cup with Darcy freaking Kemper, okay?
yeah. You can tell your partner that if he's been down talking Antiniemi, now he should change that. That if you can win something with Darcy Kemper, you can win with
Yeah.
anybody. So
Or Aiden Hill. But Aiden Hill might turn into one hell of a goalie. We'll have to wait and
yeah,
see for
yep,
Vegas the next few
yep,
years. That might have been just a
yep,
coming out party and the start of a great career for him
yep,
rather
yep.
than just
At
a
least,
one-off. Yeah.
yeah, at least they put the money there too. So let's
Yep.
let's hope for the sake of Vegas that he can keep going.
Yeah, no doubt. Here's the thing with the Devils. Up front, they're as good or better than anybody up
Yeah,
front. There is no question. It's absolutely fucking loaded.
yeah,
Jesper Bratt, Jack Hughes, Tyler Toffoli, Timo Meyer, Nico Hischier, Dawson Mercer, who had a breakout season,
yeah,
Andre Palat, a Stanley Cup champ with Tampa Bay, Eric Haula,
yeah,
Alexander Holtz, a first-round pick. Like, that's your
yeah,
top 9 forwards. That's
yeah,
incredible. They bring in
yeah,
Noshik. Tomas Nosek from
Yep.
Boston, who's a
Yep.
good depth fourth line type player. Michael McLeod, Nate Bastian, great fourth line players that can actually chip in offensively. My concern is that blue line. Luke Hughes is great, but still young. Dougie Hamilton, good offensively, defensively at times can be susceptible. And then you've got Siegenthaler and Marino and Miller and Kevin Ball, and I don't think they're as deep on the blue line. And if you're going to use the Vegas blueprint to win the Stanley Cup, New Jersey doesn't have anything close to Vegas 1 through 6 on the blue line. That's my concern. Tommy Fitzgerald, the GM, is going to have to look to shore up that blue line at the trade deadline, I think, next season. And plus the goaltending. What do we know about it? We don't know nothing. We don't know shit about their goaltending. Vanacek is up and down last year. And yes, Akira Schmid came in against the Rangers and played well, but then he kind of fell back again against Carolina when they lost to the Hurricanes. That's a very unproven tandem in goal.
Yeah, I actually now I went through the roster and like you said, it's actually the offense is the top 3 in the whole league. The defense is it's not good, and what is even a bad defense can be fixed with the great goaltending, but the goaltending is there's Galbraith, Smith, Wanacek. Who is going to be the number 1 guy? It can be anybody of those, and I think always when you can say that it might be any of those guys, that's not the good thing. That's not the good thing.
No.
Like let's say you have back in the days you have Boston Bruins, you have Tim Thomas and Tuukka Rask. You didn't know which one is going to be the number 1 guy, but it doesn't matter. Like both those guys are top 3 goalies in the whole league. So yeah, you're right. You're right about that. But yeah, I'm actually curious to hear what would be your bet with.
I still will have a little Devils. I definitely will be on Edmonton again. I definitely will be on it. I think Edmonton's just about ready. It's almost their time, I think. Like they're going to have a full season of Matthias Ekholm on the blue line, and he was a huge addition from Nashville. He finally gave them some sandpaper, some physicality, a good stay-at-home, rugged defenseman type of presence that the Edmonton Oilers needed, and he made Darnell Nurse better as a result as well. And they've got Evan Bouchard, who's going to be this next big-time offensive defenseman, I think, and we already saw it last year. Evan Bouchard was outstanding in the playoffs for Edmonton, a booming shot, the Bouch bomb, they call it in Edmonton. Great skater, power play weapon. I still maybe one more defenseman would like to see them add because Cody Ceci and Brett Kulak are okay, but they're not great. It would be nice to see Philip Broberg, this guy that they've been really raving about for a few years, take that next step. They're waiting for Philip Broberg, to really come onto the scene and be a big-time defenseman for them. And so that's going to be interesting to see if he can take that next step for the Edmonton Oilers. And, of course, in goal, I think, to be honest with you, Nicholas, that Jack Campbell will be fine. I think he'll have a better year next year. He'll be more comfortable. It'll be a second year. And they've got Stuart Skinner as well, who played well, obviously in the playoffs up and down, but I think that playoff experience helps Stuart Skinner. And I think the tandem of Skinner, I'll take the tandem of Skinner and Campbell for sure over New Jersey's tandem in net. There's no question.
For sure.
Question about that. And I have to point out as well, that there's a Finnish defenseman that could get some more ice time in a full season look for Edmonton next year. Markus Niemelainen for them. So keep an eye on him. He might be able to crack that roster next year. Yeah,
there might be a third pair spot for him to be up in the Crabs. So I'm actually curious to see what he can do when the season starts. Obviously, he's going to need to have a good camp and impress those guys out there.
Yeah, Edmonton, New Jersey. I already said Seattle. LA, I'm kind of on the fence, but I haven't decided if I'm going to. I'm kind of interested in LA, but again, I want to see how this Dubois thing plays out. I don't even think, look, if they were to get Connor Hellebuck before the season or at the trade deadline, not only Buffalo Sabres to make the playoffs, but Buffalo, could make some noise in the playoffs if they get a Connor Hellebuck to help out Devin Levi. I love that team up front. Tage Thompson, Jack Quinn, Peyton Krebs, they're all getting better as well. What a great young stable of forwards they've got. JJ Peterka, who was great at the World Championship for Germany, Casey Middlestat, Alex Tuck, Victor Olofsson. Very impressive group up front. Dahlin, Samuelsson, Owen Power, Henry Jokiharju, Eric Johnson, Connor Clifton, those two additions, those two veterans, Eric Johnson and Connor Clifton, they needed some veteran presence on the blue line. They needed some physicality and some better defensive-minded players. They got them from Eric Johnson and Connor Clifton. Great additions by the GM. And they've got their goalie of the future, Devin Levi, who's probably going to be the number one next year, Niklas. And I don't mind that, but I'd even love it more if they were to bring in a Connor Hellebuck to help him out. Maybe he's ready right away to be a terrific goalie in the NHL because they think that highly of him. But if they were to get Hellebuck, let's say, to pair with Devin Levi, Buffalo not only is going to break their playoff drought, in my opinion, next year, but they would certainly be maybe a team that also makes some noise once they get in.
That's a good, that's pretty good pickup out there. So I think now that you said it, it's for sure one team to follow up pretty closely and see where it goes. I think they had a pretty good last year. They were pretty good until February, or when they started kind of falling apart. But yeah, for sure, I think they might have a chance, and I would actually like to see that. I would like to get some of those, not new teams, but those teams that haven't been in the playoffs for years to actually.
Longest playoff drought in the NHL is Buffalo, 2009.
Yeah. So it would be actually nice to see if those guys would be able to squeeze in. And when you get in the playoffs, you never know. Like anything can happen in the playoffs. So yeah, for sure, it would be actually pretty cool to see any of those teams to win that you just mentioned out there. And yeah, I'm a big fan of Seattle too. It's just I think they have a good core group of guys, and I like
a very
the story.
fast team.
Yeah, exactly. They play good hockey. It's nice to watch. It's intense. It's high tempo hockey. So yeah, for sure, that would be actually pretty cool to see those guys go far.
And I got to mention one team before we wrap up the interview here, and that's the New York Islanders. Because I think they might miss the playoffs, honestly, next year. I worry about, the lack of scoring. I know they're desperately looking for another forward, another winger, but they haven't been able to make that addition yet. The Bo Horvat trade, he started out strong with the Islanders, but then petered out after that. And you know what they say, and you mentioned it earlier in terms of your career. You're getting older now. You want to, the last, handful of years are on the horizon. You want to win a Stanley. I'm getting older. I'm going to be 40 in 2 years. So, we're all getting older. And the same applies to Lou Lamoriello, the GM of the New York Islanders. He's getting older. And they say sometimes when you get older, you lose a step or two. I think Lou Lamoriello has lost a step or two. He hasn't done the best job here with the Islanders. And I don't love this is a guy that's been cheap throughout his career as a GM. He wouldn't pay anybody shit in terms of a big contract, even a great player. He'd pinch pennies, this guy. He'd be like Ebenezer Scrooge at Christmas. He wouldn't give anybody what they deserve. This Lou Lamoriello. With all those years in New Jersey, he never paid a premium player big bucks, big year contract. And here he is with the Islanders this year, Niklas. You explain this to me. He's given depth defensemen like Scott Mayfield 7-year contracts. Pierre Engvall, who's a nice little player, but 7 years. Pierre Engvall, he's a third line player, maybe second line when he's at his absolute best. You're giving him a 7-year term. Like, I gotta wonder, what pills is Lou taking? What I know when you get older, you take pills. You got to keep your system in check. I get that. Well, I'd love to know what pills he's taken to say, you know what, Lou, signed Pierre Engvall to a 7-year deal and Scott Mayfield too.
Yeah, I don't really. I got really nothing to say about it because I was gonna say that there is nothing in Islanders that I can even say. For me, they are pretty boring team. There is not many guys that I like to follow up and stuff like that. But now that you actually mentioned those guys, I saw those news and I thought right away that why. Like, that was the only thing that crossed my mind. I was like, why would you sign those guys for 7-year deals? Even if those deals are not highly priced, but still 7 years. Why?
Yeah, just unnecessary. Totally agree with that. I can tell you're in tune with the Finnish players that play in the NHL. So I'm going to throw out another one at you and see what you think of him. And He's in the same boat as his teammate with the New York Rangers, and I'm talking about Capo Caco, of course,
Yep.
with the New York Rangers. And I can throw his teammate, Alexis Lafreniere, right
Yep.
into that same boat. These are two guys who are expected to be dominant impact players for the New York Rangers at the NHL level, first-round picks, and neither one has really even come close to hitting their ceiling here with the New York Rangers. And there's wonder if, they made a mistake drafting these two. It's starting to creep in that discussion with both of these guys, just from Capo Caco's standpoint, Nicholas, as someone that's back in Finland. And obviously, I'm sure there's a lot of discussion going on about the Finnish players in the NHL, including Kakko. I mean, can he get it going, or is he just what he is right now? You get 20 goals, 25 goals from him, and you should be happy.
I think he should be able to produce more. I really hope he does. I think he's a good player, but for sure, there's always those things that you have to add up when you come to NHL. So maybe he just hasn't been able to actually add up all those things that you have to do to be able to produce those goals, because you can see that although like his skill level is elite, like he can make nice moves and hold the puck and stuff. Like in a world championship, he was good, he was really good, but he wasn't able to score there either. So I think next year is kind of one of those years that he have to show up and increase the production. And if that's not going to happen, I think it would be best for the Rangers and for Kakko himself to maybe change the scene and go somewhere else and try if they can make something work out there.
Yeah, I think it's a big year for him, and it's a big year for Alexis Lafreniere as well. These two Rangers have to step their game up for the new head coach here, Peter Laviolette, of course, taking over. The Rangers, very disappointing that they go from conference finals to bounced in the first round by a very young, playoff inexperienced team like the New Jersey Devils, and the Devils just took over that series. So the Rangers definitely are looking to improve from that. But we could go on forever here. I mean, Kotkaniemi we didn't even talk about for Carolina. Matias Maccelli is going to be a good Finnish player for Arizona in the long term. Anton Lundell for Florida. I mean, you could go on and on. It's just, to me, it's very impressive. Just the Eli Tolvanen for Seattle, one of my favorites. How could I not mention Eli Tolvanen? He got a breath of fresh air and a new change of scenery did him good, going from Nashville to Seattle, and his career's back on track again. He was phenomenal for the Kraken.
Maybe we have to do another episode somewhere in the future.
We definitely will.
So we can include those guys, but yeah, I think my time is getting kind of up. It's getting late.
I know.
Late
I was planning on it being an hour, but it was just so much damn fun that I figured, we'll stretch it out for a little longer.
It was good. Yeah. I really like, and like I said right away, I really appreciate the invite for coming this, and I just really enjoyable for me, and I hope I was able to give you guys some feedback and some insight for something.
No, you did. You gave us a great insight. Obviously, you've played the game for 20 years, probably going back to when you were just a kid, 15, certainly from college/junior on to the pro ranks. So you've been at it for a while. You mentioned you're 30 years old now. So, you've got still, I hope, a lot of good years ahead, especially in the English League there, EIHL, with the Sheffield Steelers, where you'll be returning, of course, for your second season. And your final answer for early Stanley Cup champ, I know your favorite right now to win it is Colorado. You're sticking with the Avs, right?
I stick with them, and let's see how that's gonna go.
Let's see how that's going to go indeed. I think, again, because now that they're coming off a year where they didn't win the Stanley Cup, they're going to get that rest now, and it's going to recharge their batteries, and the hunger, the desire to win it again is going to come back for the Colorado Avalanche this year. So I think that's going to play a role in it too.
Yep, I'm going to agree with that for sure.
Good stuff. There he is. We appreciate it. Niklas Nevalainen. And follow him on Twitter too. The Twitter handle. I had it written down here. Let me just confirm that. But yeah, he is on Twitter. You can follow him there and of course it's changed a little bit. There it is, at Niklas N15. There you go, at Niklas N15 on Twitter. You can follow Niklas Nevalainen there. Great stuff. We thank you for joining us, Niklas. Awesome stuff. And we'll definitely bring you back on the show again at some point down the line.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks for having me, and enjoy the rest of the summer. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. That is Niklas Nevalainen, folks. Another edition of the Ice Guys Players Suite. I'm Ian Cameron. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again next time for another edition of the Players Suite.